We have played some clips of Donald Trump attending a rally for Nardo 1967F, I think it is.
Yeah, something
that is,
like that.
And to be fair, that is not his real name. We are talking, of course, about Bernard Moreno, who was the alleged victim of a classic prank that an intern would do who's working for you.
I think I saw this on Candid Camera.
Look, every time we bring an intern into the office here, we've had some over the years, one of the first things I ask them is like, hey, would you feel comfortable pranking me? And if the intern says yes, I'm saying, well, but I'm talking real prank. Like, would you put me, do a fake profile of me up on Grindr? And if the answer is no, of course I wouldn't do that. I'm the intern. It would be weird. Then I'm like, goodbye.
Yeah. And then the second round you ask, would you go to my parents' home to make this account so that the prank could go that many levels deeper? And would you also use perhaps a nickname that is a shortening of my first name just to make the prank that much more salient?
That
You've got to
seems
commit
to go without saying. Look, if you're going to do that prank, you don't do it from your home.
Yeah.
You do it from, let's say, my folks' home. So you got to do that from you go to Worcester and do it. And so because
you only want to intern if they're willing to take extreme liberties with the boss's privacy.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing.
As a joke.
And then afterwards you claim well, it was only up for 6 hours, which shows that it was a prank, as opposed to I'm visiting my folks in Worcester and I'm just interested in what happens in short term in Worcester. And after 6 hours, I got enough responses. Who knows? The point is, here is a rally with Ohio Senate candidate Bernie Moreno, who very well could be, he's in the lead, could be the primary challenger to Sherrod Brown, whose interns have really no sense of humor whatsoever.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
I want to clear something up for everybody here. I am so sick and tired of Republicans that will say, I support President Trump's policies, but I don't like the man. This is a good man.
Pause it for 1 second. Bernie, can we talk about the way you're doing this? Nobody says they don't like me.
Yeah, that's
who are you
true.
talking about?
False
Nobody
premise.
says they don't like me.
This was over the weekend, I guess.
Just
and
go back a little bit.
You can get a sense, I think, pretty clearly here what Bernie's campaign strategy is.
Oh, yeah. Hewing close. It's a real one-on-one man type of thing.
Two adults that wanted to meet up and become friends.
Yeah, no, there's a tremendous amount of mutual consent. And they're just, trying to cruise together to victory. Go ahead.
But I don't like the man.
Bernie.
This is a good man.
Oh, yep.
This is a great
Almost doesn't even need to be
American.
said.
This man wakes up every day fighting for us, fighting for this country. He loves this country like no other leader of this nation has ever loved this country.
I just want to say, he doesn't know how I wake up. We do not
We
sleep
have
together.
Republicans that say that because they'll bend the knee to the media and they want to be their best friends, and so they'll disparage this man. How does Ohio feel about President Donald J. Trump?
Bernie's like, I won't bend the knee. I'll go down on both knees.
Thank you.
Little crass, Emma. That's a little too far. They took it too far.
I thought about it for a
It's supposed to be a
second.
euphemism and not explicit. Look, the Democrats are doing the sort of the same strategy that they employed in 2022. The strategy they employed in 2016, not to great effect in terms of Trump and Clinton. But in 2022, a very effective strategy by elevating the most right-wing and virulent candidate to face in the general election. And, the end of the day, it didn't work with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. It's also a different dynamic when you're talking about the president versus a senator. There is no chance that Bernie Moreno is going to vote any differently than any one of the other candidates that he is running against. They vote in lockstep. None of them is going to come out and be the one vote cast against, rolling back Obamacare or cutting Social Security or cutting Medicare. They're all going to vote the same way. You got a decent argument, I think, in terms of like the presidency, like they have more latitude. They can do more damage. Right. But the marginal difference, if there's any, between, Ron Johnson and, I don't know, Langford, if there is any difference, is there. I don't know what that difference would be in terms of different senators. So elevating a guy like Moreno, who is got a much worse chance against Sherrod Brown, good plan, and I think we'll get a sense tonight. And remember, the way they elevate him is not by saying he's a great guy. They elevate him by highlighting all of the negative aspects of right-wing Republicans. And then the Republicans go like, oh, he's our guy.
Yeah. I think that the data on this strategy has been fairly convincing. Like, this worked in Pennsylvania with the governor's race in 2022. It worked in New Hampshire against Doug Bolduc. I think that was his Don Bolduc. It's been working. And so I don't really understand the hand wringing about it, because, as you say, a Republican's a Republican. It doesn't necessarily matter. Like, we saw J.D. Vance is now fully endorsing Moreno and this whole movement,
of course,
where he tried to fashion himself as a different kind of Republican before. He ends up being the same kind of guy once he gets into power, because you have to respond to the constituency of the Republican Party, which is insane. So this is just a shortcut to getting the insane person.
Yeah, the beauty of J.D. Vance is he went from like, I am just a rapacious financier Republican to I'm a rapacious non-financier Republican. And he was able to make that transition quite seamlessly, I think with help from the media that saw him as like the hillbilly elegy guy. Yeah. But do we have any more? We don't have any more with Moreno, but let's let's check out. Well, we can get to that in the fun half, because I want to do I just want to highlight this story. The UAW has when the UAW won its strike essentially against the big three. Sean Fain made a vow that they were going to go around and they were going to unionize as many other plants as they can around the country, and building to this crescendo in May of 2028. The Volkswagen plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee, there was an attempt to unionize in 2014. There was an attempt to unionize in 2019. 2014, if I remember correctly, this is the one where like even the senators of Tennessee weighed in against this, which was sort of shocking at that time. Because remember, there was a complete absence of politicians on the left. And by the left, I mean center left in the Democratic Party.
Labor left.
Even on the labor, I mean, anywhere, who would come out in favor of unionization of a plant. Barack Obama famously said, I'll put on my walking shoes and I'll walk that picket line. And then apparently in the move into the White House, those walking shoes got lost and never to be found. That happens.
It wasn't on the list that Citigroup provided for him for his cabinet.
But I remember it was a big deal. Like Lamar Alexander, I think, came out, if I'm not mistaken, and had come out against us. And I just remember going like, what? This is nuts. Yeah. A politician getting involved in a union fight? Because we had never seen it in support of a union fight. This is, Bernie Sanders was sort of a gadfly in the Senate, I think, at that point in 2014. He may have said something, but it wasn't going to get any type of press. There was nobody in the House that was like making it. Just wasn't. It just wasn't covered. And then in 2019, there was another attempt to unionize this plant. And now the UAW has announced that 70% of the plant had signed union cards, which makes them feel like, okay, now we're ready. We have enough of a margin to have a union election. Now, also, under the CEMEX ruling from the National Labor Relations Board, a lot of this gets automated, it seems to me. And we got to double check on that. But it should, unless there's some reason why they shouldn't be able to, unless the plant has some sort of argument as to why they shouldn't unionize, they may get unionized automatically within a couple of weeks once they file. So this is a big deal. This is the UAW Local 42. This is also coming on the heels of the UAW announcing that they had majority sign up at the Mercedes plants. Basically, what they're doing is and that's in Alabama. They announce when they get to 30%. They announce when they get to 50%, and then they move ahead with an election when they get to 70%.
And it's not a coincidence that all these things are in the South, right? Like that.
Yes.
The reason that you have politicians involved is because they were often the ones welcoming these different plants into the South by saying, "Hey, come exploit our unorganized labor." And that's exactly what they came for the unions, and now the unions are coming for them.
But that's why Fain's strategy is so exciting, is because he's not like resting on his laurels with this renewed energy for the UAW. He's deciding to take the fight to exactly where it needs to be taken to, which is the South. No more exploitation down there anymore as more and more people begin to unionize and organize.
All right, let's take a break and head into the fun half, and then we will talk more about what's happening with some new polling that came out about this race. Data for Progress, I think it was, had Biden up by a point. But it's really interesting. What's more interesting is some of the other questions that they asked in this. We'll also update you, obviously, on the interesting story about what's happening in the White House with Gaza and the Israel assault on the Palestinians living there and the potential for Rafah, and the sort of sense of like the SS White House has sprung a big leak in terms of like where people are. It really does have a sense of like they are trying to maybe change course here in terms of Israel, and there's like a series of like they're just backfilling the explanations for it. But we will talk about that. Old Chomsky on the IM says, yeah, the same strategy that got Adam Schiff to win in California. True. Adam Schiff employed that strategy. It's a good strategy. In this instance, I don't like the fact that Schiff was in the lead. Also, we know that Katie Porter, even if she had gotten Barbara Lee's votes, wouldn't have gotten into the second place because Garvey had so many votes. Now, you could argue that was because of Schiff. The strategy is good. And if Katie Porter or Barbara Lee was the one who had the lead in the polls, I would tell them to employ it.
And I'm sorry, this is a different situation. You can't apply the California jungle primary structure to what Democrats are doing in other states. Elevating the more MAGA adjacent or MAGA associated Republicans to run against the Democrat in a head-to-head general is different than, whatever. It's the same, I guess.
The tactic is the same.
Yeah.
Is it something that you should apply against, like, deny people, two Democrats to run in a jungle primary? No, of course. I'm not in favor of that. Is it an effective tactic to win? Yes. If the Republicans did it, the Republicans do it insofar as they'll go out and they will, in many instances in the past, I don't know about this time around, they fund third-party tickets to the left of Democrats, and it's a similar strategy.
Yep.
So, you know, slightly different, but it's a tactic. And I'm in favor of tactics that achieve the outcome I want. That's how I judge whether I like them or not. Whether they're effective or not is simply a question of math. That's all.
I think the broader issue people have that they're placing onto complaining about the tactic is that this is what we resort to instead of talk with Laney Newman, where we have a organized population where they can go to a union hall and hear about these things. We're left to these sorts of tactics, and I'm agnostic, but I also think it doesn't point to a healthy democracy to me that these are where our heads at.
Oh, 100% doesn't. We do not have a healthy democracy.
Yeah.
I mean, old Chomsky says Schiff elevated the MAGA candidate here. Yes, he did. He chose who he wants to face in the general election, and he chose the person he thinks he has the best chance of beating.
Yep. Yeah. I can't believe you admitted there that you work backwards from the outcomes that you want to see and determine whether the tactics work for that. It sounds like a utilitarian argument to me, but
I'm like, what's his face?
Thanos. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.